The college football experience, Coastal Carolina Chanticleers 2023 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, brought to you by Bird Dog Shorts. Yes, dominate the summer with an amazing pair of shorts and a free Yeti style tumbler when you order over at birddogs.com/pool. Once again, that is birddogs.com/pool. Remember, as always, folks, also to let it ride.
Hey, this is Eric Metcalf. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience, Coastal Carolina Chanticleers 2023 season preview. You know I love talking about the Chanticleers and Coastal, the teal turf, the mullets, the Brooks Stadium, the creator from the Hooters money behind it, everything about it is fantastic. And hopefully you're watching this on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. Subscribe, tell a friend. But look, maybe you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to. Well, my name is Colby Swig at Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I smoke and I drink and I don't have stress and I'm healthy.
And you're nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist pussy. And I'm after you, buddy. You're going to pay for it. Good night.
Oh, yeah. I love talking Coastal football. They have came on the scene. They have really came on the scene and just, this is a school that not that long back was in the FCS. And now look at them. Look at them. They're on national TV. I feel like a decent amount of the time in the college football seasons or during the college football season. I mean, they had an 11-1 season back in 2020 with an overtime bowl loss. So that close to a national championship, if you ask me. I am joined by one of my co-hosts, but this guy happens to be in he's in Atlantic City gambling his ass off. So give it up for the DFS god himself, the rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, tobacco road living, the free lock giving, former earned the basketball league MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. Let me tell you, man, the Borgata is pretty nice.
You're at the Borgata. It sounds like a cheese, but you're at the Borgata. How many wagers have you placed? Did you bet on the US of what's going on right now? College baseball. You wagering on college baseball? What are you betting on?
Betting mostly Major League Baseball. I just got up here, just a quick, 2-night stay for work, so I can't, just be a degen the whole time. But I definitely got a few bets in. Not so great. The blackjack hasn't been too kind to me yet. It's been a long time since I've been.
You broke up there. You broke up. Internet
like the Trump Towers. It's been that long. The Borgata is really nice, man.
I don't know. You broke up a tiny bit there. But Borgata is really nice. He says, hey, if you're in AC, they used to, I feel like it's the mistake on the ocean, right? There's a mistake on the lake, Chicago. The mistake on the ocean might be Atlantic City. You
gotta have something that rhymes there. I don't know about mistake by the ocean. You gotta have something that rhymes. That's why the mistake by the lake is so great. But
true.
Atlantic City is what it is. Look, it's still a degen's paradise. It is still somewhat the Vegas of the East Coast. So look, I'm having fun over here, even if I'm not cleaning up.
There you go. Get your Boardwalk Empire on, folks. We're going to be talking Conway, South Carolina, aka Myrtle Beach, not far from Great Myrtle's Inlet. You know what I mean? I know there's been plenty of times you've been hammered at Myrtle's Inlet.
Well, just last week when I was at the beach. Sure.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of times you're hammered at Myrtle's Inlet and you say, put the Coastal game on.
Of course.
Put the Coastal game on.
I don't have to tell them to put it on because it's on there because the amount of fans for Coastal Carolina is growing. Like, it's not where it completely needs to be. I know later in the episode we'll talk about the stadium experience and everything. And for big games, like when App State comes to town, for big games, it's a really rocking environment. That now it needs to be more consistent. It needs to be that same feeling for every game. Not quite there yet, but like you mentioned, this is still a relatively new football program. So with more and more success will come more and more of a following. So they're pointed in the right direction.
And look, they also shot down that Chinese spy balloon right there.
That's right. That might have been Grayson McCall himself. He might have threw a football up there.
That's true. That's true. Big Bird himself, throw the laser. Yeah. So now let you go catch a game, shoot down a fucking Chinese spy balloon. You're gonna have a great time. Look, we're gonna talk all about Coastal. But before we do that, we're gonna talk, offense, defense, special teams, all that good stuff. But before we do that, I want to tell you we're brought to you by Bird Dogs. Yes, Bird Dogs make you look good. All right, just like those mullets, those Teddy Gallagher and Grayson McCall are rocking. They're gonna make you look like that. All right. Bird Dogs is stretch khaki shorts, and they're designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. And they fit way better than regular shorts. Regular shorts are made of stiff, restricting cotton. Bird Dogs figured that out a long time ago by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khakis, but stretches, so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice all that movement. Bird Dogs uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric as well that keeps you cool and dry all day long. So if you're at Brooks Stadium, no one's gonna know that you've been on a 2-day bender. You know what I mean? Down in Myrtle Beach, as long as you put on some Bird Dogs. All right, go to birddogs.com/pool and enter the promo code POOL for a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/pool for a free Yeti style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We can promise you that. All right, we are back on the college football experience, Coastal Carolina preview. And, I feel like I love this program really ever since I'm trying to quickly find the drop on the fly right now. Ever since we had one of the greatest coaching sound drops, man, why am I failing? Why am I failing at this right now? Oh, here we go. Well, ever since we had this.
Trying to get our two boys ready to carry them to golf tournament before practice, right? 12 cats live across the road. Our door's open. Screen's broke. We need to get a new screen door, but the screen's broke. So you can come in through the screen, but you can't get back out of it. I turn and look, there's a little kitty cat in our kitchen. So I said, what are you doing in here, little kitty cat? By that time, the cat turns, tries to get back out. That screen won't go that way. Cat starts going, meow, all crazy. And I told our players, we need more dogs. Bo's barking in the back. I have to go shut Bo up. Mel's like, what's going on? I said, there's a cat in the house. Cat in the house? I said, yeah, there's a cat in the house. So I told our players, I tried to let it out the front door. Meow, meow, the cat's still going crazy in there. And I told our players, you need to be more like a dog. We don't need a bunch of cats in here. Yeah, looking in the mirror. Do I look good? I got my extra bands on. I got my other shoes on. Be a dog. We don't need no meows. We don't need no cats.
While that's a great clip, the Chanticleers have come a long way since then.
Hey, but also let's not hate that. That's a clip by old coach David Bennett. David Bennett was at Coastal. He was 63-39, including a 10-1 season. Went to the FCS playoffs twice. So don't hate on David Bennett. But yes,
I'm not hating. I'm not hating. I love that. I don't know what David Bennett's doing nowadays, but we need more David Bennett. Okay.
He's a high school football coach. He's a high school football coach in South Carolina.
Probably where he belongs, but the world needs more David Bennett. And, one of the more recent quotes I love is Big Bird Grayson McCall himself when he said, I piss teal.
Oh, I love that quote too. I love that quote. And,
well, I don't get brain bag.
I mean, here's the thing. They went from Bennett to Joe Moglia. Moglia, led Coastal to 3 double-digit win seasons. Then he passed the torch off to Jamie Chadwell, and Jamie Chadwell took them to 2 11-win seasons and then a 9-win season last year after they lost to East Carolina in the bowl game, of course. But now comes Jamie Chadwell's off. He's with the Flaming Libs. He's going to Liberty University, the Flames. And in comes in Tim Beck. Tim Beck, now former UCF quarterback back in the 80s. I mean, this is a guy that's coached everywhere. He was a GA under Bill Snyder at Kansas State. So he's got ties to Bill Snyder, but then he ended up coaching at Missouri State. He coached at a bunch of high schools in Texas. Then the Kansas Jayhawks in 2005 and 6, which that was what's my guy's name? Mark Mangino, I believe. When Kansas had some of their better years, Mark Mangino, part of the Mike Leach tree. Then in 2010, he was with Nebraska, which I believe 2010 to 2014. I believe that would be the Callahan. Wait, or no, probably. Oh man, what's the guy's name? It was the DC of LSU. I'm drawing a blank. Drawing a blank right now on the coach that would be Bo Pelini.
There you go.
Then he was at Ohio State in 2015 and 16 with Urban Meyer. Then the Texas Longhorns with Tom Herman, and then most recently NC State.
Woo.
He's been around. He gets that shot. What's your take on the hire of Tim Beck to Coastal Carolina?
I think at first we were skeptics. It's not like the NC State offense has been lights out the last few years under Beck. But the more and more I do a little research, I hear from the people at Coastal and those folks around the program. And also I tend to think was Beck a little bit hamstrung by the conservativeness of the head coach, Dave Doran, and that was very evident in the bowl game after Beck left when Dave Doran refused to go for on a 4th and 1 to win the game or something. So I'm kind of coming around to the hire. I think it might be a pretty good fit. Obviously he has a hell of a track record. He's coached under a litany of fine coaches. So I'm coming around to it, and I think he wants to emphasize the run game more, and that sounds good to me. So I'm going to give him, a fair chance here. I think he could do well.
Well, he brings in Travis Trickett as OC, and I think that's an interesting hire. He was at USF, I believe, last year, where USF was terrible, 1-11, but their offense was actually all right. And then previously at Georgia State, when I think they knocked off Tennessee, I think it was the OC. For some reason, I thought they had retained their OC. That is not the case. So that is interesting because you're going to have Big Bird essentially learning a brand new system, and
completely different system.
Yeah, and Big Bird's Grayson McCall, folks that don't know. So Grayson McCall goes in the portal. He considers leaving and then comes back. I'm going to talk more about that in a second, but I got to key in on the transfer portal because we talk about this. The transfer portal has become such a big factor of college football. We grade the transfer portal. If you're not Army, Navy, or Air Force, the transfer portal is just absolutely crazy. So departing, we will key with not Grayson McCall, which I think that right there might be the win that in grading this. But they did lose cornerback Gerard Cameron to UMass. They also lost Corey Warren, a defensive lineman, to Georgia State. So in conference, they also lost Josiah Robinson, a linebacker, to Georgia State in conference. Ouch. You also got a slew of other guys that are in the portal that haven't landed at places. Teron Ivy, a tight end. Kylan Milner, a safety, linebacker, Zamarian Harrell. Those guys probably going to end up somewhere. Also Braylon Ryan at defensive line. Also lost quarterback Bryce Archie, who we saw him play a little bit. He went to South Florida with the Bulls. And then also Willie Lampkin. This was their stud.
That hurts. Hurts. And
this was their stud.
Disgusting who he went to also.
Yes, he goes to the North Carolina Tar Heels, and Mac Brown. That was a big loss. And then this one was gigantic. Their best defensive player, Josiah Stewart, defensive end, Jim Harbaugh in Michigan, comes for him. They get him there. Those are two huge losses. Also quarterback Ty Lyles is in the portal. cornerback Manny Stokes, and defensive lineman Travis Geiger. So that's who they lost. I mean, I'll be honest, losing the offensive and defensive lineman right there, pretty fucking huge. They did gain Michael Mason, a defensive lineman from Wofford, the Terriers, coming over in the FCS. Also, tight end Matt Alamo from the Rutgers Scarlet Knights comes in. They did get some pretty good ones. They were able to talk defensive lineman Willie Moise to come back. He hit the portal. They talked him into coming back. Notre Dame tight end, which Notre Dame's been a tight end factory somewhat lately. Kane Barong comes in. That's an interesting get. Wide receiver Jensen Hooper Price from Northwestern transfers in. Tulane defensive end Carlos Hatcher. Tulane, hey, they only beat USC in the Sugar Bowl and had an amazing season a year ago. Cornerback Juan Powell from East Carolina. Must not have cut it there in Greenville. They also bring in a JUCO and cornerback Abraham Timoni III. Furman offensive tackle Evan Jumper. Furman was an FCS playoff team a year ago. They also brought in Kansas quarterback Ethan Vasco. That was a big loss for. So Kansas thought Jason Bean was leaving. He announces he's coming back using the COVID eligibility, and Vasco, who Kansas coaches were kind of high on, now he gets pushed to third string, and he goes, you know what, I'm out of here. So keep an eye on that move.
And he might be looking at, next year. Obviously, this is Grayson McCall's team, but if there's an injury, or maybe he's just looking at next year and saying, hey, let me get my feet wet in the program, learn the offense, and then maybe next year I'll be handed the reins.
There you go. They also got tight end Zach Courtney from the Colorado Buffaloes. Dion told him to get the fuck out, and he went to Merle's Inlet. Then also Wisconsin cornerback. Remember Wisconsin? Jim Leonard had a great defense. So Avion Jones comes in at cornerback from Wisconsin. Overall, NC Nick, I know Grayson McCall hit the portal, came back. They have two of these guys that came back. You could argue that as a win, but man, they got kind of killed on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I mean, they lost two starters and probably two of their best 5 players. So that definitely hurts. If you're not factoring in McCall coming back, I think you say Coastal lost the portal. Sure. I mean, they brought in a lot of depth. They brought in, especially at the tight end position. It seems like everybody maybe wants to be the next Isaiah Likely or something. But I like what they brought in. They just lost, 2 of their best players. So I would say I would chalk it up as a slight loss. If you factor in basically re-recruiting Grayson McCall and bringing him back, then you say it's a win in the portal, because obviously Grayson McCall is one of the best G5 quarterbacks in the nation. And he's been doing it there in Conway for several years now. And the fact that he's back for Tim Beck's first year is just huge.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, this guy is one of the better quarterbacks in America. So that is a gigantic
G5,
get.
P5, whatever. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
Gigantic get for Tim Beck. I don't know how they got some NIL money at the Hooters there. I don't know what happened, but McCall's back at quarterback. You got to be happy there. I'll be honest. The offense, like the skill position players, Reese White's back at running back. They also have Braden Bennett, who flashed a little bit a year ago,
and CJ Beasley.
Yeah, I mean they go pretty deep at the running back spot when you add Beasley, White, and Bennett. Receiver wise, Jared Brown, he's back sophomore season. Tyson Mobley, he's back. They bring in the Northwestern transfer I alluded to, and Hooper Price. They also have Sam Pinckney, who, remember him? He was at Georgia State, came to Coastal last year, so they're bringing back their three proven wideouts. The tight end position, remember they bring in Kendall Carr, It is Kendall Carr from North Carolina. I think he's going to be penciled in as their day one starter. Now the offensive line, as we alluded to, that's the big thing here. They bring back the whole left guard Will McDonald, I believe, is back. Then Willie Muse, who I told you hit the portal, then comes back. And then Donnell Wilson. So they get 3 of 5 back on the offensive line. They could bring in a Western Carolina transfer and Dylan Luther at the right guard from a couple years ago. That would be, I don't know. I mean, you think the offensive line will be all right?
Well, so I mean, the offense in general, obviously the quarterback position, they're good. the running back position, they're loaded. Both Reese White and CJ Beasley were over 500 yards rushing last year. And you mentioned Bennett also. And then receivers, Pinckney, Brown, and Mobley, they were all 40 catches or more last year. So they have a ton. Look, remember, Coastal was young last year. They had a bunch of guys, Javion Hidley. I mentioned Isaiah Likely, the CJ Marable. I mean, they lost a ton of guys coming into last year. And last year they were young, and they knew that. And all signs were pointing for probably more towards a more successful 23 than 22. So the only question mark whatsoever on the offense is the offensive line. I mean, Lampkin was the cornerstone. He was the leader of that offensive line. If he came back, then it's only 4 out of 5, and you would be completely set. But with that said, Beck is high on the offensive line, and he's excited about their potential. But sure, only bringing back 3 of 5. It is a question mark.
Well, and then the defensive side of the ball, it seems like they took way more hits than the offensive side of the ball. So defense now, brand new defense coordinator is Craig Navier. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this is a guy that's been all around. He was a DC at Texas back in, or co-DC at Texas back in 2019. He was also at Houston. He was a Tom Herman guy. So interesting. See, they had some great success at Houston. So we'll see how that works. But that they got him, and once again, I think they also have Dan Carroll is also the other DC. I think they have two. Actually, I think they have 2 DCs. They're going with multiple DCs here for Tim Beck. I could be fucking that up a little bit, but I think those are your 2 co-DCs. On the defensive line, they bring back Kennedy Roberts. That's a big one. He's a senior at defensive tackle. And that is a point of evidence. Look at the line of scrimmage. You see, okay, Jaquan Griffin is a name we should watch. A senior. He was at Georgia Tech. That guy could be an X factor, knowing that they got hit at that position when they grabbed a couple guys in the portal from them. Nose tackle Allen Henry, also another senior, played 13 games last year, didn't start. So you got that. Linebacker wise, remember I was talking Teddy Gallagher, man. Linebacker wise, Sean Bruce seems to be the guy. This is a guy that's a sophomore. And back to NC Nick's point that they went young last year. Him, JT Killen, back, as well as the nickelback Chase Atkinson, who was played 2 years at Syracuse, I believe. Secondary, secondary probably is the position I feel like they might feel most comfortable with Dre Pinckney, Tobias Fletcher, and Jamar Brown coming back. Jamar Brown coming from South Carolina in the SEC there. The corners are a little untested, but you have senior Jacob Prochet, I think it is. That would be one to watch. But where's the strength on this defense, you think?
I'd probably lean towards the linebackers and the safeties. I don't think you can say the whole secondary, because they did lose both starting cornerbacks. And, this defense was not great last year. They gave up 31.8 points per game, which was second worst in the Sun Belt. And they were the worst pass defense team in the Sun Belt, giving up 285 yards per game. And you lose the 2 cornerbacks. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. They weren't playing that great last year. A lot of new faces on the D line. I would say the most cohesive unit from last year to this year is linebacker, and they were young last year, so you hope for improvement there. And the safety position should be a strength. Maybe that helps the more inexperienced cornerbacks that should be on the field this year.
And they bring back the kicker and punter. That's all. Close games, you never know. You want some special teams. Some plays a factor more than you know if you ask Jerry Kill. All right, look, we're going to go game by game on the schedule here and talk about Coastal in 2023. But before we do that, I want to tell you that the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers 2023 season preview episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Best Ball Mania is here, and Underdog Fantasy is giving away $15 million in prizes. Yes, Underdog Pick'em is also a great way to get down on your favorite MLB and college baseball player props. Coastal Carolina keeps a good college baseball program too. There's so many ways to win over at Underdog, and it's active in so many different states. So you go and check them out. Head over to underdogfantasy.com. Use that promo code SGPN for 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's underdogfantasy.com. Promo code SGPN. All right.
Before we look at this coming year real quick, I was on the under with them last year just because I knew they had so many new faces, and I was wrong. I forget what the number, I think was it 8? or 8.5,
somewhere right around there. Yeah.
So I went the under, and they started off 6-0. I mean, granted their schedule wasn't great for the first half of the year, but they still beat like Army, Georgia State, Georgia Southern. Then they had that head scratching loss at home to ODU, which made not much sense at all. That moved them to 6-1, and then they beat Marshall, App State, and Southern Miss in a row. They're at 9-1, but then the injury to Grayson McCall, and then a lot of rumors about Chadwick leaving.
Chadwell.
I always say that. And then that really, they lost the last 3 games, which McCall only played one of them. By the way, that ECU loss, McCall did not play, and in his absence, Jarrett Guest, the backup quarterback, really struggled when he was on the field last year. So overall, though, they won 9 games, so it was a pretty good year when they were supposed to be rebuilding. So I just wanted to touch on that before we look at this coming year.
Yeah, and Big Bird McCall, you pissed Steele. Maybe show up in the bowl game. All right. I'm joking, Grayson, but you would have lost anyway. Here we go. Man, so the win total, if you're watching youtube.com/the college experience, shout out to Cameron Kerr, our graphics guy. You see the sweet ass Coastal Carolina graphic. The win total sitting at a flat 8, folks. 8. Let's go game by game, because week 1, for some strange reason, the beach meets the beach. All right. They're going to the other ocean though. All right. Yes.
The Atlantic versus the Pacific.
Yes. They are hopping on a flight. How many connections do they have to go on to get to Los Angeles is the question, because they're heading to the Rose Bowl to take on UCLA. Wow. This is, if I had to guess, this has got to be their first game ever in the state of California. And Chip Kelly, look, if you were to tell me, now obviously Chip Kelly's kind of turned UCLA around, but if you were to tell me that you were going to play UCLA out of, all the times, I think you would want week 1, I think, because they might be starting a 5-star freshman in Dante Moore. Now, sure, they might go Colin Schlee. I also think if you were to ask UCLA saying, when would you want to play Coastal? You would say, well, I'd like to play in week 1 because they're breaking in a brand new coach. So you kind of got this game. Chaos could happen.
Brand new coach with a brand new system. It's
UCLA,
not like they promoted the OC or something, but no, I mean, it's like last year, South Alabama in the Sun Belt gave UCLA a game at home.
Should have beat them. Should have beat them.
They really should have. But I think South Alabama is probably a notch above Coastal. But no, I mean, first game, first year head coach, totally new system. I think you have to give it to UCLA, even if they're starting a freshman quarterback.
Yeah. I got to UCLA's turned into like a power run team too. I find that interesting, and I feel like Coastal's defense might not be ready for that.
Yeah.
Carson Steele is the starting running back for UCLA. That guy's a machine. Watch out. I got to go UCLA. Maybe it's a close game. You gonna stay up at Merrill's Inlet for this one?
Well, I was very pissed that when I saw when the time of it was released is 10:30 Eastern time. So I mean, I guess I understand the fact that you don't want to play in the midday heat in Southern California in August, or I guess this game's on September 2nd technically. But I was a little bummed that it's on so late.
That was an issue last year because Bowling Green came week 1 and no one showed up for UCLA. UCLA has a hard enough time bringing fans whenever, but it was like, it was one of the hottest days in the history of Los Angeles. And you also had wildfires that were not that far away. So it was just like terrible idea for a game at noon. Yeah. So I think that had something to do with it, but week 2, I am intrigued by week 2's matchup because Rich Rodriguez and Jacksonville State, the Gamecocks, coming into Brooks Stadium. Man, people don't know. If you don't follow FCS football, Jacksonville State is good. Florida State, ask Florida State about Jacksonville State. This is a dangerous game. This is actually like one of my favorite non-con matchups of the season because they kind of remind me of each other. I know Jacksonville State's in Alabama, but the style of play, they kind of remind me of each other. I'll go Coastal, but I don't feel that solid about this one. How about you?
No, I mean, I think Jacksonville State, I've liked them in the FCS for a few years now. I think they have a lot of talent on that team. They're in a talent rich area of the country as far as college football players. And they're one of the teams I'm kind of excited to see their transition into the FBS, because I think they could be pretty damn good in a few years. They could be pretty good this year. But no, at home, though, I'm going to give it to Coastal.
Dude, I bet you this is a one-score game. This is going to be a game.
I would not be surprised. Yes.
Week 3, then they get the Dukes. So I got them at 1-1. You got them at 1-1.
And that's not the James Madison Dukes.
Yeah, that's later.
That's later.
The Duquesne Dukes, FCS. Hey, just a couple of years ago, Duquesne wasn't bad. Last year they regressed. Not a horrible team, but not a good team last year. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago they were solid. Maybe no. Coastal Carolina beats Duquesne.
Yeah, 2-1.
2-1, and then Georgia State comes to town weeknight, Thursday night. This is a critical game for Sean Elliott, the head coach of Georgia State. It's a critical year for him.
For sure. And you know, the crazy thing about Georgia State and this series, it was tied 3-3, and a home team has never won, which is pretty surprising. Coastal Carolina won in Atlanta last year, 41-24. I think that streak finally snaps, and I think Coastal wins this too.
All right. I'll join you here. I feel like this game is tough, man. This game is like, I'll join you. Grayson McCall is the difference here. All right. 3-1 out the gate, but now they head to Statesboro, Georgia. And this is a loss to me because I think Georgia Southern's pretty good. I like their home environment. I got Georgia Southern beating Coastal in Statesboro.
It's a tough one. I guess if you're trying to go conservative, you say they probably split the two Georgia schools. But you know what? They beat the two Georgia schools last year. Coastal has won 3 in a row against Georgia Southern, making 4 in a row, and a very nice start to the Tim Beck era. They are sitting at 4-1.
I got them 3-2, and even that you could talk me into a Georgia State or Jacksonville State win, but I got them 3-2 right now. They get a bye week, and then they head to Boone, North Carolina, weekday game. I think it's a Tuesday. Man, they're lucky it's October 10th and not a colder time of year.
True.
They don't win in Boone. I can't take them.
They've never won in Boone.
Yeah.
I love this game. This is really a budding new rivalry. It's becoming fun every year. The two fan bases despise each other. It's going to be a fun game on that Tuesday night, but I got to go with the trend here. App State wins at home.
Yeah. So that puts me at 3-3. It puts you at 4-2. And it's back-to-back away. They go to Jonesboro. Man,
it's actually 3 away games in a row, but App State does have Coastal does have the bye before the trip to Jonesboro.
Yeah, so now they go to Jonesboro. This is like the ODU game last year.
Yeah.
Like this is where I'm like, I'm taking Coastal, but don't be surprised. This is a weird trip, man. That shit is far. It's like going to play Tulsa. You know what I mean? Like that is give me Coastal to get it done, because I think Arkansas State's trash, but what are you doing here?
No, I agree. I think Coastal's just more talented, you know, and look, conference play, college football on the road is never easy, but I'm gonna put this one in the W column, and that is what, 5-2 for me.
5-2 for you, 4-3 for me. Now this game is huge. Remember the win total is 8. I think Marshall's better than them right now, dude. I think Huff being there, I'm taking Marshall to win in Conway.
Yeah, I am too, actually. And you know, last year it was the first ever matchup between these schools. Coastal kind of surprisingly went up into Huntington and got the W. Revenge might be on the mind of Marshall, and I think that physical run game might be a bad matchup for that kind of, you know, shaky, defense of the Chanticleers. So I'm actually going to give Marshall this one.
Yeah, so that puts me at what? So that puts me at 4 losses there.
You're 4-4. I'm 5-3.
Yeah. So then they head to ODU. They lost to ODU a year ago. I feel like whatever happened with Ricky Ronnie, I don't think it's working out because the portal, ODU got destroyed in the portal. I got them going up to Norfolk and getting a dub, moving to 5-4.
Yeah. Last year in that game, which was very surprising because ODU came into Conway and really just smacked Coastal Carolina around. They ran for over 320 yards. Blake Watson, the running back for the Monarchs himself, ran for over 250. Again, like the week before, I said Marshall wants revenge on Coastal. Well, this time it's Coastal wanting revenge on ODU. Give me the W for the Chants.
And then they come home and take on Texas State. Great schedule. You don't get South Alabama. You don't get Troy. You don't get Southern Miss. You get Arkansas State and Texas State. You gotta love that. Texas State comes in. They have a brand new head coach coming over from Incarnate Word. At least by November 11th, they should understand his scheme, his system, and everything. But I got to favor Coastal Carolina to get it done here. So,
yeah, same here, definitely.
Now comes the interesting one because Army's moving to the gun. Jeff Monken's made this known actually, and he's using the blueprint that he essentially, I think, a similar offense to what Jamie Chadwell ran, right? Out of the gun, Army. But look, by week, by what is that? Week 13, week 12, I think it is. They're playing in West Point. It's gonna be cold as shit. Right on the river there, the Hudson River. This game is very interesting to me. This was a close game a year ago in Conway.
Let's put it this way. So Coastal ends with at Army and home to James Madison. I do think they lose one of those. I'll say it's the road trip at Army. I'll say that kind of surprises them. They drop that one, and then they finish strong against the other Dukes. They're 2-0 against the Dukes this year, and they finish at 8-4, which puts me solid right on the number. What about you?
I think 7-5, and I think there's a shot at 6-6. I feel pretty good about this.
I can't be sitting right on the number, so it's not the toughest schedule, but there's enough losable games there where it's tough to feel too confident about an over. But I think they get to 8, and I think there's a slightly higher likelihood they repeat last year's record because I think they're a better team than last year. So give me the over, but it certainly will not be one of my locks. I probably won't actually bet it myself.
I think it's a hard schedule because I gave them a win against Georgia State. I gave them, if I have them at I just feel like they could lose to Jacksonville State, Georgia State, and Army, and I'm giving them wins, and I'm still on the under. So
is their schedule harder than last year? I think out of conference.
Yes.
I mean,
Jacksonville State is good. UCLA is good. Now Duquesne, okay, but like Gardner Webb was better than Duquesne. Gardner Webb was an FCS playoff team. But they're at Army. They played Army in Conway last year, and not only are they at Army, they're at Army on November 18th. Like that could be in the fucking snow for all you know. You know what I mean? So I'm on the under, and I feel decent about it.
Yeah, I think if you're betting an over, I think you can only afford one out of conference loss, which means they either have to beat one of the away games at UCLA, at Army. Obviously, at Army is probably the easier one.
Yeah, I don't know. If they were to get Army in September or even early October, I would feel better about that, man. That's going to be November 18th. It'll be like 5 degrees up there. I'm on the under. He's on the over. Look, before we get out of here, we got a visit from my friend Michael Barker, who does absolutely fantastic work. If you haven't checked him out, well, you need to because he just does absolutely great work. This is a guy that travels around to like 300 different stadiums and just covers college football nonstop. I mean, didn't you see him at a game, NC Nick?
Yeah, actually, it was Coastal. It was App State at Coastal last year.
And did they end up rushing the stadium in that game? Did they rush the field?
I mean, they won, but they won pretty handily. So there might have been a few people rushing the field, but it wasn't like it was, like just a big mob of people. But I forgot to mention, I mean, and actually the game I'm going to go to this year is Marshall at Coastal Carolina. And I actually had Coastal dropping that game. So maybe I'll be wrong about that one. And maybe that will get them the 9th win.
And you've been there more than once or what? How many times?
Just once. but I'm going to go this year again. So I plan on making it an annual trip because it's a good time, man.
True, and you gotta love the Fun Belt, Sun Belt. But hang on one second here. We're gonna load up this Michael Barker interview. Michael always does such great work. You should give him a follow on Twitter at CFB Campus Tour. And yeah, I'm just waiting 1 second. I pressed play, but the computer is taking a second here. But yeah, anyway, I highly recommend you check them out. Going to college football games, especially the Sun Belt. The Sun Belt gets it. That's what I love about the Sun Belt. Like in this age of college football realignment, where TV execs are really just rerouting college sports and trying to make it more like the pro model. The Sun Belt's a breath of fresh air because whoever's in charge or making the shots as far as realignment and the school presidents, they seem to be, they seem to know their identity. Man, it's absolutely perfect what they got going with the Sun Belt. So get out this
Sun Belt, Fun Belt, baby.
Catch a Sun Belt game. And yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to. I've never been to Brooks Stadium. I would like to go to Brooks. Now I've been to Boone. That stadium's fantastic. I've always wanted to go to Hattiesburg. So yeah, I mean, they just have like a lot of fun stadiums. Statesboro. Shout out to our boy Clay. All right, here it is. I think I got it right here. Hopefully this all goes good. I got you Michael Barker
joining us on the college football experience. Coastal Carolina 2023 season preview is Michael Barker, aka College Football Campus Tour on Twitter. This is an account. This is a must follow. It's a must follow. Listen to Dundee. It's a must follow because this guy goes to like 300 games a year, I feel like, and he's just always like 6, 5, 6, sometimes 7 games a week, multiple games in a day. It is a must follow. He does great great photography shots from the game too. How you doing, Michael? And appreciate you hopping on the show.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here, and we're going to talk about Brooks Stadium, which is tied for the record of my most games at with 4.
Yeah, Brooks Stadium here. The emergence of Coastal Carolina, just a super fun program to me. Like they kind of, I don't know what it is. I know it's that they have the teal turf. Some people love it. Some people hate it. But something about this program, I think, captures Myrtle Beach pretty well. And I don't know if it was Grayson McCall, the quarterback, when he had the mullet, or they used to have this linebacker that did the mullet too. I think his name was Teddy Gallagher. Yeah. And something about this program is a lot of fun. I know my brother NC Nick goes to a lot of games to catch this this team and this buzz around the city there. How was your experience going to Brooks?
Well, it's fun. It's a really fun environment. They've won so much in the last couple of years, almost out of nowhere. They affectionately refer to themselves as America's team, and they play all these Fun Belt weeknight games. And I've been to 4, 2019 through 2022. I've been to 1 game each season, and every time it's got better and better. I mean, if you look at first of all, the history of Brooks Stadium, I mean, the program only started in 2003. The stadium had only 6,400 seats, and it was a grass field. An interesting nugget that I think you'll appreciate is the stadium is named after the children of Robert Brooks, who was the founder of Hooters America.
No way. I mean,
yeah,
I do remember there being an arena football team called the Hooters back in like the early 90s. So I wonder I'm assuming that's the same owner, but I didn't know that. That explains a lot. So
and it matches up with Conway and Myrtle Beach perfectly. So I found that one out there. But they installed what we call the surf turf, the teal turf, in 2015, and the stadium is at its current capacity in 2019 of 21,000. And my best experience at Coastal was actually 2. In 2021, I went there when they played Kansas the year before during COVID. Kind of the game to put Coastal on the map is they went to Kansas and they beat them. It was the first time they'd ever beaten a Power 5 program. That was part of a home and home series. So in 2021, they played back at Brooks Stadium and they beat them for their first home win P5 in program history. And then last year, it was a revenge game against App State. In 2021, they were undefeated. They went to Boone. It was a Wednesday night game, sellout, 31,000 people, and they lost. App rushed the field, and so they had this game marked on their calendar the next year, and they returned the favor. They beat App, and they rushed the field in Brooks. So those are my best memories in Conway.
It's always great when you can rush the field, and that's what's great about Brooks Stadium and Coastal Carolina. I mean, you gotta love their come up. I remember them in the FCS not long ago, and now they're beating Power Fives down there at Brooks Stadium. So awesome! That sounds like an awesome. I really got to get to this game. It's right on the road. I've driven right past this. It's like right like you can see it if you're driving on the main road right there. I think
it's SC 543 if I can remember. I think that's the highway name.
Yeah, so you can see it right there on the road. It's pretty awesome. You gotta check out some Sunbelt Fun Belt action. Well, Michael, I appreciate you hopping on the show, telling us about a little bit about the history of Coastal Carolina and Brooks Stadium, and hopefully I'll catch you at a game one day.
Absolutely, they got a September 22nd Thursday night game. It might be a good one to catch.
There we go. That's why you should follow him. I told you, he's got this all memorized in his head. So there, boom, folks. You guys got to go check him out at CFB Campus Tour on Twitter. He does the photo of the game. I'm telling you, it's an awesome follow. It's just an awesome follow. Michael, thank you. Thanks again, man, and have a wonderful day.
Absolutely. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Michael Barker talking about Brooks Stadium. We got NC Nick's been to Brooks. Michael Barker. I need to get over. Pick Dundee needs to go.
So maybe they did rush the field there. I don't know. I didn't rush the field that night.
you rushed you rushed the bartender that night probably because you were just, hey, give me another drink, give me another cocktail.
High likelihood.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're in Conway. Look, I'm excited. I hope I'm wrong because I like it. Coastal has this identity. A lot of times in college football, I feel like, especially the newer schools, and I'm sure Patty C will tell you this as well. Sometimes you struggle to have an identity. I look at Charlotte. Charlotte is a team that I don't know that there's an identity there with them.
Right. Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. They're fun. Something about Coastal Carolina is fun. Charlotte's not fun. They're boring.
Yeah.
The stadium's boring. The uniforms are boring. There's nothing fun about them. And I think sometimes we have to remember that football should be fun. And it's fun watching the team from the beach with their mullets. And they had a very unique offense also. So, that's why they're America's team, like they say.
They are. They shot down the Chinese spy balloon. They are America's team. Let's go, folks. Folks, subscribe to the College Football Experience. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience, but that's the hub for all of our stuff on YouTube. We host the College Baseball Experience. Like I said, Coastal's got a very good baseball team. The College Basketball Experience. I'm here for you every day of the college basketball season. Coastal, I want to get you into the NCAA tournament. Let's win that Sun Belt this year. All right. We also host the FCS College Football Experience and the College Football Experience. We come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience. But subscribe to all of those podcast feeds that are all solo podcast feeds. Please give us a 5-star review. Tell us why you think I'm an idiot, I'm wrong, but just give us the 5 stars on iTunes or Spotify, please, if you can. Also, give NC Nick a follow on Twitter at NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. So give us a follow there and come talk. Look, Coastal plays a lot of those weekday games. We have this thing called the Discord channel, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord, where pretty much anytime there's live sports, maybe you're a Coastal basketball fan or baseball fan, hop in there. We're all watching these games. It could be fucking badminton in New Delhi, I swear. Like, you just get on over there, you're gonna see just a party of degens just talking about whatever sport you can think of, but especially college football, college basketball, college baseball. So check us out. And all right, I'm looking forward to the season. All right. This is the College Football Experience, Coastal Carolina style. You better shoot down the Chinese spy balloon next. All right. And we out of here. Run and shoot.